The movie opens up with a fist battle between a bear who calls himself Superman Bramble and the villains of the city. After Bramble defeats the villains, another superhero bear named Briar and the kids in the city circle around him for a hug. Standing on trash cans inside a forest, Bramble continuously laughs at his hallucination of being a hero. His friends stared at him in confusion, wondering why he was so happy. Vic, a human who stays with the animal, screams out Bramble's name as he was now tired of watching Bramble daydream. Bramble falls from where he stood, landing belly flat on the pile of trash before him, while Vic scolds him for neglecting his job of cleaning up the trash. Bramble looks around and realizes he was only fantasizing. The animals were all busy preparing for an event. The human tries to get lazy Bramble to do his job on time, and so he offers to give Bramble ice cream if he finishes off his job. Bramble swiftly picks up all the trash from the floor into a basket and empties it into a trash can. Just when he was about to empty the last basket, he slips over a banana peel and falls headfirst into the trash cans, causing all the trash to spill over. The animals, who were initially amazed by his working speed, were disappointed once again. Vic scolds Bramble, but Bramble insists on getting the ice cream before working any further. Another bear named Briar walks into the scene. He tells Vic to let Bramble rest and decided to finish up Bramble's work for him. Bramble runs off excitedly to get the ice cream, but then he bumps into two animals on his way. In the next scene, multiple space vehicles move swiftly in the air, chasing a spaceship vehicle. They shoot at it continuously, but they miss. A missile is launched to finish it up, and it did, causing the vehicle to explode. A part of it falls into the forest, passing slightly above Bramble's head. It crashes into multiple trees, and just before falling on the floor, something flies out from it. Bramble fearfully hides behind trees as he tries to figure out what it wants, standing behind one of the trees. The object that flew out from the brick falls on Bramble's head, then on the floor. Bramble tiptoes towards it and then he picks it up. He looks at it and wonders if it was a metal fruit. He pulls it very close to his face. His eyes activate the optical recognition and his brain experiences a shock. He throws it to the floor, but it already opened up. Bramble spews out words of high knowledge. When he realizes this, he covers his mouth and runs back to his home in fear. As he returned home, a cat comes out from the vehicle that fell to the ground. Bramble ran into Vic's home and then locked the door. He reaches for the ice cream in the fridge, and as he sat to eat it, the cat sneaked in through the window. Everywhere went dark and Bramble shivered in fear. The cat stands on the table and places his finger on Bramble's forehead. He confirms that what he was looking for was really with Bramble. He tries taking Bramble with him, but Bramble puts up a fight and then he escapes outside. He calls out to Briar and Vic for backup. They all return to Vic's place. Vic was enraged as he met his home in a mess. They search around for the monster Bramble told them of, but all they found was a cute little cat. Bramble tells them the cat was the monster, but they threw him outside instead. Bramble tries to explain to them that Abby was a bad cat, but they didn't believe him. Abby does all he could to frustrate Bramble to get him to come with him, but Bramble refuses and puts up with Abby's axe instead. The others head to town, but Bramble decided to stay back in the forest with Abby. The second the others left, Bramble requests a duel from Abby and Abby gladly accepted. Just before their fight, a tiny drone arrives. Abby destroys it, and after that, spaceships arrive with the humans who chased after Abby earlier inside of it. They tried to capture Abby and Bramble, but Abby fights them all off and saves Bramble too. Bramble asks Abby for his real identity, and Abby explains to him that he isn't from the Earth and cannot return because his ship was damaged. He tells Bramble that the humans will continue coming back until they get what they want. Abby tells Bramble that if he doesn't help him, the humans will keep returning for him, and if they meet his friends they will kill them all, and this convinces Bramble to help him. Abby shows Bramble what his ship looks like and tells her to focus his mind on it and locate it. Bramble does that and he sees the ship in the trunk of a car passing by. They quickly run after the car, unknown to them. The tiny drone that Abby destroyed was still powered and the humans were watching their movement from it. Abby and Bramble follow the car into the city. Bramble devises a means for them to move about without attracting attention to themselves. But their cover blew up and they had to run. Abby, feeling impatient and stubborn, chases his ship and then gets into police trouble. Bramble rescues him right in time, and as they run, Bramble sees the other guys walking out from a store. Briar and Vic decided to run after them. Bramble and Abby follow the trunk into the forest where they scrap metals. After loading the ship on the scrap machine, the scrappers left it to check out their lottery tickets. Bramble and Abby immediately turn off the machine. They enter the ship and Abby asks Bramble to use his brain and turn on the ship. Bramble struggles with it and close to achieving it. The scrappers arrive and turn the scrap machine back on. This affects Bramble's focus. Abby leaves the ship and takes care of the humans. He tries to turn the scarf machine off, but he accidentally breaks the handle. He holds onto the ship with his strength, but it wasn't enough. But the ship was very close to falling inside the scrap, when Bramble finally succeeds in turning on the ship and getting it to fly. The ship lands on the rooftop of a building and Abby gives Bramble a hologram of him telling the truth so Bramble can show it to the others and explain to them that he wasn't the bad person. Abby stayed behind to guard the ship. Bramble hid behind a wall in the alley, fantasizing about the reaction of his friends, but then he overheard them talking about how much trouble he is to everyone. This breaks Bramble's heart, so he leaves without even explaining to them. Abby sat inside the ship and watches a video of a kitten with its parents with tears in his eyes. He quickly turns off the hologram when he hears a squeaky noise outside. Abby opens the door quietly and then he sees Bramble sitting on the stairs. He calls out to Bramble and realizes Bramble was chewing on a snack. Bramble offers some to him, which he initially rejected, but he later accepted it. They were both sitting on the stairs snacking when the human who wants the device shows up by breaking through the wall. Abby and Bramble immediately escape into space with the ship. As they flew in the air, Bramble sees a vision of many more ships like they were locked up somewhere. He tells this to Abby and Abby asks him where he was seeing it. Bramble then tells him it was right in front of them. Many drones come out from the big ship and then start shooting at Abby's ship. Bramble tries to run away, but Abby asks him to turn the ship around instead and they burst into the big ship. On arrival they see the other parts of Abby's ship and while Bramble tries to take them, Abby goes after the necklace. Abby sights the necklace and tries to take it when he gets hit by a firefly. The female boss of the gang comes out and tries to strike a deal with Abby. Abby rejected it. Her husband, the male boss, arrives and they both fight off Abby. Right before Abby's defeat, Bramble shows up and rescues Abby, taking the necklace along. The husband and wife go after them and in the fight the necklace falls off the ship. Bramble does some calculations and finally save the necklace and Abby too. The female boss orders over missiles to attack Abby's ship, so Abby tells Bramble to take the ship high into space while the missiles got a point. As they pursued the ship, it freezes and falls back to Earth. They all land in the junkyard where the scrappers scrap out metals. One of the scrappers hits a missile and it explodes, causing the others to explode as well. Back in space, Bramble and Abby had fun moving around without gravity. They played with the environment until they got tired. They sat down staring at Earth and Bramble asked Abby why he was back on Earth. Abby explains to Bramble that he was initially born on the Earth, but after a terrible fate befell his species. A number of them died while only a few survived. He tells Bramble that he lost contact with the others and had been alone for a long time. Bramble hugs Abby as he wasn't sure of what he was to tell him. Abby found a motivation to look for his parents again and not give up. Bramble asks Abby where the search was to begin from and Abby tells him to go to the South Pole. The humans abducted Bramble's family and told them lies about Abby just to get them to be on their side. They arrived at the South Pole where Abby and his family, an entire clan, lived in the past. Using the necklace, Abby opens up the gate to his home. Unknown to Abby and Bramble, the fireflies follow them in. While Abby and Bramble head for the lighthouse where one can send a message deep into space to send a message to his parents. The fireflies tried to deactivate the machine which had been protecting the town for years. They passed by Abby's old home and memories with his parents came flowing back. He wiped his tears and tells Bramble to take the ship to the lighthouse, as Bramble was about to do that. The fireflies deactivated the machine and darkness befalls the city. An opening was made above and the human came in with their guards. The entire place crumbles down. They head to the place where a powerful giant robot named Quaver was kept. Bramble and Abby tried to stop them. They used Pryor to lure and distract Bramble while Abby alone ran after them. Bramble finally explains the entire situation to his friends and they realize they've been tricked. They go to save Abby but it was already too late. Abby tries to talk them out of awakening the Quiver but they refuse to listen. The moment they activated it, everywhere came crumbling down again and the South Pole gets destroyed. Bramble and the rest roll down and fall to the ground. Bramble wakes up and he searches, analyzing everyone except Briar. He sights Briar at a very far end with stones over him. He tries to save him but couldn't. The Quaver releases fire everywhere again and the whole place crumbles down even more and more stones fall on Briar. Bramble shakily tries to take the stones away, but he couldn't. He breaks down in tears and blames himself for everything. He wails bitterly, banging on the stones. He placed his forehead on the stone and sobs continuously. As he sobbed he hears someone call his name. His eyes light up and he listens keenly. He realizes it was Briar. Briar tells him not to blame himself for anything and tells him not to see himself as unworthy. Briar tells Bramble not to try to be like him, but to rather just be himself. He tells him how proud he is of who he has grown to become and then he loses consciousness. Outside, the Quaver continues destroying everywhere and wrecking the entire place. The guards they had come with to unlock the Quaver run for their lives. The Quaver yet again releases fire and this time it causes the giant stone to fall into the place where Bramble and his team were. As Bramble stood and watched the stone fall, he remembers all the beautiful memories he had shared with all her friends. This sends an electronic wave through his body and it connects with the spaceship scrap. Unbelievably, the scraps all join together and form the ship again. Bramble connects with the spaceship and wears it on his body like a spacesuit. While he controls it from the inside, he pulls away the boulders covering Briar. Everyone was amazed and they looked at Bramble in astonishment. Bramble saves the guards who the Quaver tries to attack. He also saves the male weapon maker, who pleads with Bramble to save his wife from the control of the Quaver. Bramble assembles stones from destroyed buildings and then he forms a fist with it, throwing a heavy punch at the Quaver. He moves swiftly on the Quaver's body and then using more stones he forms an even bigger fist which he uses to throw an even bigger punch at the Quaver's face. He attacks the head and then gives it a punch from the jaw, throwing it off the floor. Bramble was excited about his incoming victory. Abby calls out to him from the lighthouse and tells him to shut down the Quaver. Bramble affirms Abby's instruction and dives in for the heart to bring out the female arms dealer, who was the heart of the Quaver. Bramble was just a few inches away when the Quaver grabs him and throws him into a building and then unleashed fire on Bramble. Bramble falls to the floor and uses stones to form a shield against the fire. He manages to save himself, but the spaceship was gone. The Quaver tries to squash Bramble to the floor when Briar shoots a missile through its head. The others came with Briar as well to rescue Bramble. As they shoot at the Quaver, the male arms dealer with his guards joins them and they all fire at the Quaver. They call out to Bramble to get back on his feet and Abby joins them too. The arms dealer's wife inside the Quaver and under its influence gets furious and sends electronic waves across the entire place, pushing them all to the floor, including Abby who is riding on a ship. Just before Abby falls to the floor, a hand made from stone catches him and drops him gently on the floor. Bramble had assembled stones and formed a giant-sized stone suit that was the same height as the Quaver. He matches the Quaver for a battle, facing the Quaver. They both throw a punch at each other at the same time. But Bramble was stronger, filled with rage. He furiously throws a final punch at the Quaver and this takes the Quaver to the floor. The Quaver sends fire to Bramble but Bramble blocks it with his stone hand and moves even closer to the Quaver. He sends another punch to the Quaver and pulls it off the floor, grabbing the head. He pushes a lot of energy into his fist and gets ready to send in another punch. He aims for the heart, but just before he reaches there he saw the memories the female arms dealer and he frees his fist. His stone suit dissembled and he jumps out from it, flying straight into the Quaver's heart. He pushes her out and as she fell to the floor, her sad memories of being abandoned by her mother and rejected by people flashes before her. She gets into a trance and her little self receives a comforting hug from Bramble as a little bear. Her husband also comes by and offers to be her friend. But the thread connecting her to the Quaver breaks off the moment she accepts his hand friendship. Abby creates a soft landing pad for her and Bramble. Her husband runs to her and takes her in his arms. Abby worriedly goes to Bramble and asks him if he was okay and Bramble says yes. Bramble quickly runs over to the top of a stone when he realizes the quiver was about to explode and just like he had dreamed of in the beginning. He said his heroic lines as the quiver explodes.